Quick question. Is it possible to buy the Steve Rogers the Musical soundtrack? Asking for a friend. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be the first to know. Clearly, different place. I am on vacation at the in-laws for the holidays, so that is why things look a little bit different. Don't fret, I will be back to normal in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. That does not stop me from watching new shows and giving you my thoughts and opinions on them. So today we're going to talk about Hawkeye, episode 1 and 2. Because they release them together and sort of they flow right into each other, I'm going to bridge them together as one big thing. But the rest will be done solo. And I won't even really mention where the break comes into this. But this we're going to talk about episode 1, which is Never Meet Your Heroes, and episode 2, which is Hide and Seek. For me, two things immediately stand out after watching these first two episodes. One, I love that these MCU shows so far, none of them feel like the other. They are all completely different genre films, completely different style films. Not one show feels like another show, which I think is impressive. And they all still feel like they're in the world of the MCU, but they don't feel like each other, which I think sometimes those street level shows like that era of Marvel Netflix, where Punisher, Netflix, Jessica, while they had different villains and felt different, some of them felt a lot. It was one big amalgamation. All those Arrow shows, these all feel like completely different style shows, and kudos to the MCU for doing so. Secondly, out of all the shows for the Disney Plus era of MCU shows, this is the first origin piece. Like, this is definitely Kate Bishop's show. I know with the name Hawkeye, it seems like it's going to be leaning more towards Clint. We see all the stuff that's in Clint. We see how it's a double, like Clint and Kate and Clint and Kate. But this opens with Kate, and this is her story. This is her origin piece. This whole series is basically to put her on the board and explain her and what makes her tick, while also still sprinkling in Clint to kind of give him closure. I think is what we're going to get for him with this. So this series as a whole is very influential. Even has a producing credit on it by the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye. Even the logo, like if you read that and seen that, there's going to be a lot of similarities that come in. Obviously, because of the way that we've sort of established Clint in the MCU, some things can't happen. He's not a loner. He's not off to his own. But he does have a family, and he still is deaf. He still is all cut up. That those things sort of still stick the same, so they have to change things. But for the most part, the style what we're getting fits in line with that. And so this opens up with Kate Bishop being young Kate Bishop and being dead smack in the middle of the battle for New York with the Avengers. Um, Crap's blowing up. It's the finale sequence. She's got a high rise because her family is affluent and well to do. Had a high rise in New York, and she catches a glimpse after her building is blown out. She catches a glimpse of Hawkeye being a badass. The slot sequence when he perches up on the top and just shooting stuff left and right. She sees that firsthand, and she's sort of in awe and wants to be that. Wants to recreate that. Wants to be that much of a protector for her family because she feels like in this moment she's not. She feels helpless, and her building is destroyed. Her mom finally comes to see her, but her dad is dead, or so she believes. If you want me to be honest, I think if you don't see a body, they're not dead. And I don't think that character is dead, partially because of the Matt Fraction run, but two, I just think that character was not seen to die. And I feel like when we're all said and done with this, Vera Farmiga's Eleanor may not be on the up and up and may have done something in the interim to for that for him to cleanly take his way out, harder sort of ascend. That's my opinion. I'm going to stick with it, but I don't think that she's on the up and up, and I don't think that he is quite gone yet. Although it's hard for him to probably be away from Kate as long as he has, but something just doesn't. The way that was filmed, the way that was done, I feel like it was purposely done because she had a long period of time in that home while things were going on where she was alone. Kate was with nobody around. She's screaming for her parents, and no one finds her. Her dad's gone, and Eleanor doesn't respond right away. So hold on to that. That's where I'm at. We'll talk about it as we go along. But in this, she goes to a funeral and she vows that she wants a bow and arrow because she doesn't want to be as helpless as she was in this moment. Admirable thing to say. Fast forward to present day, and she is more of a rambunctious teen than she is a hero. Well, she's up past teen. I think she says they're saying she's 21, 22. She's a rambunctious young woman who is still trying to figure out life and figure out what to do. She's trained in martial arts. She's trained in gymnastics. She trained heavily in archery, but she also likes to get in trouble. Like she, for reasons that don't make any sense, she's throwing an arrow over to the bell tower and causing it to basically crash down. And normally people would get into trouble with that, and she does. But her form of trouble is getting her credit card turned off. She is of an affluent Eleanor, sort of protected her and paid off a lot of the mistakes that she's done. She's sort of tested her limits of what she can and can't get away with. Eleanor, played by Vera Farmiga. Eleanor is the matriarch of the family, Kate's mom, and Kate finds out without Eleanor telling her that she is engaged to Jack DeCane, who is of an affluent family as well. In the comics, I won't tell you what his character is because that may come up here, but he's not all. He's going to be his character is someone that can become someone of note as we go along. Um, but Kate's not completely cool with it. She thinks it's rushed. She thinks it's too fast. She thinks that Jack's up to something. So she spies with him, like one a naturally kid would do, and she follows Jack into a silent private auction with his uncle Alec, who had just got into an argument with her mother Eleanor, and they are bidding over remnants of the Ronin era, the Ronin sword and the Ronin costume. And right when the Ronin costume is being bid for, an explosion happens and the tracksuit mafia shows up. Now I know that thing sounds insane, but that is they're called tracksuit vampires or tracksuit Dracula or something like that in the comics, but we sort of changed that up here. But that's their essence exists is the same. Um, tracksuit mafia comes in and they sort of cause havoc. The Ronin suit is left unattended, so Kate sees it, puts it on, and starts to try to go to work. Uh, Jack takes the Ronin sword and keeps it with him and runs off. Um, Kate is formidable as a fighter, but she is still a very slender 22-year-old girl, and so these tracksuit mafia folks are some big dudes, and so it takes her a little bit more energy than a typical fight to take these folks down and sort of get away with it. And then there's the one that she just can't take down. She sort of has to escape. She escapes, catches the dog Lucky, soon to be Lucky, in the middle of the street, saves him, and then kind of scurries off to her apartment loft. She drops Lucky off, and then she goes in to check out Alec, Duquesne, the uncle, and finds that he's dead. And she escapes that place and kind of just goes back to the loft. And it's like, oh crap, what is happening? Problem with all of this is that Kate's not quite good at covering up her tracks yet, and so it becomes pretty obvious for them pretty quickly as to who is responsible for this. So while all of this is happening to catch up, like that's all Kate's story, Clint enters this world, and Clint is very much living the father life. He's doing his thing. He's the post Avenger, living his life. He's the only one who actually has a family, and the only one who had a family that is still here, that is living through the fame and infamy of being Avenger to save the world post blip, post Battle for New York. Um, he gets recognized. He gets dinners paid for, stuff that he doesn't want to do. But at the end of it all, he is in pain and hurting. But he is still trying to be there and spend time with his family on this Christmas because he's normally is doing Avenger stuff and doesn't get to do. So he's watching the Steve Rogers musical, which is hilarious. It is very funny. I love the note that like they have Ant-Man in there, but he wasn't there. You get signals of saying Thanos was right. Like this world feels very lived in, and it causes a lot of PTSD for Clint because there is a Black Widow that is on stage and whatnot, and he misses his friend, and obviously he knows what he did to his friend, or had to do. She sort of sacrificed herself. He's living his best life. They get home and he just tucking the kids in. They're kind of having a moment. They cut on the TV. They cut on the TV. He doesn't want to. He's like, no, no TV. But then they see Ronin sightings, and it immediately triggers Clint, and he has to kind of go into protection mode because he knows that whoever is wearing that outfit is going to have a whole hell come down on them. And he might also need to take out the person that's wearing it because they might be coming after him at some point in time. So he has to go see who that is. This is where sort of where their stories merge, and Kate is being hunted down by the tracksuit mafia. She gets sort of cornered and overwhelmed. She hides in a car, locks all the doors, and is about to get like beat until Clint shows up and saves her, and then grabs her out of the car and kind of like forces her and like, "Who are you?" Takes it off and sees that she's like a child, and he's like, "What the hell is happening?" After he saves her, Clint asks them like they need to go back to the safe house. So they go back to her loft, and he asks her to retrace her steps to see if anybody followed her. And she's like, "Well, no, I did this." It's like, "Oh crap!" But I did go here, and then my buzzer does say Kate Bishop on it, and then Tracksuit Mafia is downstairs, and their place catches on fire. They have to slip out, escape. They have to leave the Ronin suit behind. So the Ronin suit's left there. They leave, and they have to find a second safe house because Clint needs to get Kate off the streets so that he can figure out the ins and outs of why they want this Ronin suit and why they're coming so hard after her to do so. Kate takes Clint to a second safe house, if you will. It's an aunt that's never in town's place, and they kind of hold up there. On the news, they see that Alex Duquesne has been murdered, and that Ronin, there are images of Ronin leaving there as well. And Clint's like, "You just can't go out because there are now two photos of Ronin in precarious positions, and I need to figure out why this is happening, why people are coming after you, and all this. So just stay here." He goes back to the loft to try to recover it, donning a fireman outfit. It's not there, but he does see a note of this role playing. Well, at that point in time, he doesn't know what it is, but this thing that he has to go to sort of re-get the Ronin outfit. A hilarious role playing game. If anyone's ever seen, I forgot what that movie was with Paul Rudd, but there's a sequence where they actually have to play this role playing game, and all these police officers and firefighters and whatnot are playing this medieval game, but they take it all real. There are rules to it, everything. It's a game to it all. And Clinton has to do so, and he sees that the person who has the outfit, who's posted on Instagram and whatnot, is there wearing the outfit, and he's claiming it. And so he has to get it. He has to play the game, and they all know who he is. But he has to play the game. He plays the game. He gets to the guy, and the guy's like, "Look, let me kill you, and I'll just give you the suit, like it's yours." And Clint has to think about it, like, "Wait, what?" But like, obviously, killing an Avenger would be massive for him, even though it's make believe, it's pretend, it would be huge. He does so. He gets it, and Clint, in the coolest way, is kind of just like, it's this guy's best life. Like, he's living his best life. He's having a ball. It's like, "Call me Clint." He's on cloud nine. Clint's like, "Whatever, just give me the suit. I gotta go do this." He finally gets the suit. He makes sure that he locks that away. He needs to put that away so that no one has it, so that then he can go figure out what he's going to do next. And his plan is to do sort of a catch and release. He calls his wife, who the kids have now been sent off to, and he plans to be there within 5 days for Christmas. But the plan is to do a catch and release, something that Natasha always used to do, where she gets herself captured, and then they'll figure out when she's in there how to get out. That's his plan. Meanwhile, Kate is kind of like, "I can't just stay here," and she has to go do regular things to sort of keep up the normalcy of her life. So she goes to work. While at work, Jake is there in her mom's office, and they kind of have a tit for tat back and forth. And he invites her over for dinner. They have dinner that night, and the dinner gets pretty contentious. And you get some interrogation and some questions that Kate's asking. Kate does not believe that he is on the up and up. But they do have a love or a familiarity with jousting. So they joust, they put on their outfits and do this jousting thing. Jake's very much letting him win. Now, I said earlier that I wasn't going to say the character's name, but it's Swordsman is the name. And he's going to be good at swords. So, like, he is letting Kate win, and Kate is aware of it. She can feel it. It's like he's not putting up a fight, and it's pissing her off. To the point that when they are not in prep mode to actually fight, she throws a shot at him just to see how he responds, and he parries. And knowing that, she's like, "Yeah, see, something's not right here. He's doing more to it." And to sort of calm down the situation, he offers her a candy that is embroidered. That is the same candy that was at Alex Duquesne's place embroidered as well. So it sort of makes her nervous and leaves, and she's like, "Hold on, something's not right here." Uh, I definitely don't think Jack is on the up and up, but I'm starting to believe that the way that she reacts and responds in relation to Jack, and the fact she had the sword in the house, something's up with Eleanor that I don't think she is on the up and up either. But Kate leaves. Kate runs out of there, gets to the car and is like, "I'm going to call Clint." And first time Clint doesn't answer. Second time, one of the Tracksuit Mafia folks answer, and it immediately sets Kate off. She's like, "Cool, I got a security team." So she goes in security and finds where Clint's place is. Clint's tied up, balled up, ready to and talking mad junk. And Tracksuit Mafia is like, "Where's Kate?" And he's like, "I don't know who Kate is. I don't know who Kate is." And all of a sudden, Kate falls through the through the terrace and just falls down. And they're both captured. And so the episode ends with them both being captured, and one of the Tracksuit Mafia folks going to the back room and letting their boss know that they have both captured Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. The person they're letting know is none other than Echo, who is a character who mimics similar to it's like a cross between Taskmaster and Daredevil, where she mimics the patterns, moves, and behaviors of people. She is getting her own show, which we already know about, but in the comics lore, she's also the stepdaughter of Wilton Wilson Fisk, who was Kingpin. Which, hey, if we get in this somewhere down the line, if we get Kingpin, I think we're going to be in for a treat. And it seems like just the way that he's toying with us, the way that Vincent D'Onofrio is toying with us because he tweeted and all that stuff, it feels like he's the one that's going to get to play in this world, and I'm ready for it. I don't know how they explain it. I don't know if they say this is an alternate universe. I don't know. I don't care how they clean it up. Just put him on the board. We'll worry about the details later. A solid 1-2 episode. I think the way that the first episode ended, you sort of have to have the second one right behind it because it bleeds right in and it's too much of a cutoff. And you would have been annoyed had you started with just the first. I like the interaction between Clint and Kate quite a bit. Kate idolizes Clint and has a bit of fangirling, but not too much. She's still like, I still think things you can do better. Like, she's that kid that loves this person, but also sees all the faults and like, hey, I think you could do this better. I think you could do this better. I think your branding's a little off. I can fix this, and we can be a better team. She's doing all of that, where he's just like, I don't want your help. I don't even want to be a hero. I just want to spend time with my family. I've done some terrible things. I've lost my friend. I just want to spend the rest of the time that I have here helping my kids grow up and live their life. He's very much, if you're doing a Lethal Weapon combo, he's very much the Danny Glover who's like, I'm too old for this shit. And she's the Riggs, who's like this little Spitfire that's like, I want to do it all. Let's do everything. Let's blow some stuff up. Let's go. And I think that that's going to work out and become this very Shane Black-esque sort of comedy as we continue to go on. Hailee is great. Like, she is why this show works. She plays this fine line between being this spoiled rich kid to a girl who just doesn't want to feel helpless again. Like, she wants to take the power back. And she plays it perfectly. Like, I never feel like that I am annoyed or bothered by her in any way at all. But I do think in less capable hands than Hailee, I think you could make Kate unlikable and a little too much of a brat, and I never get that here. Between what we get here with Echo coming on the board, with Yelena we know coming down somewhere, and if we get Kingpin, this show could elevate to another level, and we could get some more street. A lot of the stuff that we've dealt with before with Loki, Wanda has all been this higher level type of stuff. We start getting into multiverses and magic and all of that stuff. We're now outside of Falcon. We're now starting at even a more street level than Falcon, because Falcon starts dealing with like flying folks, and it gets a little. This is more straight up on the ground, hand to hand combat. And I think once you get into that world and start getting that, introducing some of that, that's sort of my sweet spot, and I love that stuff. All things, I think this is a solid start for an origin story or an origin series, and I'm excited to sort of see what happens next. A lot of groundwork for an unknown character had to be laid, and I think they've done a great job, and they're going to continue to do so, to just put more layers in on her, so that when this is all said and done, she is going to be a well-rounded and fleshed out character that we can now sort of enter into whatever world that we need to put her into for the future. I will say this. This is an action comedy series, so I think one of the two next episodes needs to have a pretty large action sequence in it. The action in here has been good so far, but it has been very, very small scale. There needs to be some really large scale action sequence to sort of earn the right to be called a Christmas action comedy. And I know it's coming. I've seen the trailers. There's a car sequence, a car chase sequence that seems to be pretty good. But like so far, these guys have not even really thrown a bow and arrow outside of her throwing one at a bell tower. So that type of stuff needs to kind of get ramped up in these next few episodes. We only got 4 episodes left, so somewhere in here I need to get some more action to kind of satiate that appetite. Now I know comics don't always, not every panel is action, but I just need a little bit more to kind of make all of this sort of gel together as one. Those are my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye. What did you guys think? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else that plays podcasts. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.